Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good day to all of you. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching the program Agenda. And today we are going to have two very interesting guests. One will be talking to us about emerging in the culture of their students. And she's a teacher, an author, a book writer, and a beauty pageant winner. And she will be coming to the Philippines with, I think, 7 other people to immerse and learn Bisaya. They will come here to learn Bisaya, eat Bisayan food, and immerse in the Bisayan culture because it turns out that in the state of Hawaii, 23% of the students consider themselves Filipino. Or hindi naman sinasabing they don't love America. They're simply saying that their ethnicity is Filipino. And to further improve the connection, the teaching, our guest and her associates will be immersing themselves in the Bisayan culture thanks to a Fulbright grant. Okay, we'll talk more about that. Then after our first guest, we will be speaking to someone who is all about I don't know if he's a muscle man or if all his muscles are inside his brain, but it's all about gyms, fitness, etc., the global situation. It's important to watch that interview because a lot of people are going back to the gyms, but I have to say a lot of them are going about it the wrong way, choosing the wrong place to do it, and not understanding the value of going with professionals. Anyway, I won't take too much of the time. Let's now go to our daily starter. Our daily starter is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Now that I am in my teenage years, I can testify to you that when you do this, when you seek God's will or ask his opinion and his direction, you won't go wrong. You might delay, might take long, might get no for now, but eventually things will resolve under the guidance of the Lord and you won't go wrong. Okay, now let's go for a quick review of the front page of today's newspaper, the Philippine Star, where I also write an opinion column. And if you are a government employee or government official, please read my column today. And also for those who are in the incoming administration. Okay, the headline for today's paper, DILG to Cebu government, change mask rule by weekend. Okay, the Department of Interior and Local Government has given the officials of Cebu province until tomorrow or Sunday to withdraw or change their rule for maskless policy in Cebu. In the meantime, at the top of the paper, private hospitals still waiting for COVID allowance for their health workers. Cops, police officers, 2 police officers in Quezon province were able to foil a hijacking of an oil tanker truck. Okay, that's how bad it is. They don't hijack armor cars. They now hijack oil tankers because it is worth its weight in gold. Okay, and the big picture there at the top of the front page. Who would have imagined that gasoline would near 100 pesos per liter? To be accurate, it's Shell V-Powered diesel is 98 pesos 65 in Puerto Princesa, Palawan. And gasoline is at 98.99. Okay, so that's how bad it is. Meantime, the Land Transportation Franchise Regulatory Board, ICE decision on fare hikes, the 5 peso increase, they will make the decision by end of June, okay? Or when the term of President Duterte ends. That big picture in the middle there of the front page, is a group photo of President Duterte and some of his officials with the awardees and representatives of 8 national artists, the latest 8 national artists for the Philippines. Okay. And on the bottom left, the Department of Health, NCR remains low risk for COVID. Thank you, Lord. Then at the bottom center, that's Manny Villar, businessman Manny Villar, ringing the bell with the PSE President and CEO Ramon Monson regarding the offering of the first majority community mall REIT. Okay, anyway, BBM and Joey Concepcion, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, met recently to tackle the government support for medium to small enterprises. And last but not the least, Fauci, face of U.S. battle versus COVID tests, positive. Okay, so it turns out that Dr. Fauci is not COVID-proof. He also came down with COVID, which proves his point that it is contagious. Okay, so those are the news in the front page of the Philippine Star. Let's now go to our first interview. Our first guest for today is teacher and Miss Philippines Hawaii 2022, Brittni Friedlander. She was referred to us by our news anchor Riza Diaz, and she represents the Fulbright Hays Group project, where the Fulbright Hays Group awarded $100,000 to Dr. Eva Washburn Repolyo to fund their summer program, immersion program in the Visayas. Welcome, Brittni. Good day to you.
Aloha, mabuhay. Thank you so much for having me today.
Okay, given that we have two guests for today, I've already eaten up so much of the time. I'll give you the floor, Ms. Friedland. Can you tell us, because in my generation, when you spoke of Fulbright, it was generally a Filipino, a very bright, smart Filipino being sent abroad to study in the U.S. under a Fulbright scholarship. But now we seem to be doing reverse engineering.
It is. So what's great about the Fulbright program is that they really promote international exchange and creating leaders who are also teachers that are able to have cultural competency in their classroom. And for me, it's really important because I am half Filipino as well. My mom is from Tagaytay, and she was an immigrant to the United States from here in the Philippines. And so that's half of my heritage as well. So I'm really learning about the culture and the cultural competency that I can bring into my classroom, as well as half of my background in terms of ancestry and heritage as well. And the Fulbright has been around for many, many years. They are actually in 160 countries. And yes, my previous professor, Dr. Washburn Repolyo, I have to mention her. She's an amazing lady. And I see that she's pictured there as well. And she was who originally applied for this $100,000 USD grant for us to come. And so she chose 8 teachers around the nation that she had interviewed, and we went through a long process to be here today. And I'm actually currently in Dumaguete right now, and I'll be visiting Silliman University today to really start that cultural immersion that we're going to be doing here for the next.
Okay, you're at Silliman University at the moment, the city of Dumaguete. That is one of the nicest place to be, one of our favorites when my family travel. And Silliman University was the second choice of my daughter had she not decided to go to the Netherlands. But that is a really wonderful campus. Have you had the opportunity to go around the campus and get to meet the people there?
I actually will be doing that today. So right after this interview, I'm going to take my first pedicab over to the university, meet up with my professor and the other participants, the other 7 participants of
Okay, now,
collaboration.
before COVID, the trend was in the mainland that Filipinos and some American, natural-born Americans, were very interested in reconnecting to their different cultures, regardless of their origin. There was this growing awareness or reconnection. Is this just part of that reconnection wave in the United States, or is this a special project that you guys are doing in Hawaii? And why is it significant to your students?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's very important, and especially it has been highlighted recently and showcased that the cultural competency of connecting with your students and being that leader in the classroom and also being relatable and having this education is important. Specifically in Hawaii, as was mentioned before, 23% of our students in the public education system are immigrants from the Philippines. And so it's very important for us as teachers to really connect with them on that relational level and be able to speak about their culture. And we're using that in English classes and also connecting that to science classes as well. Something that's very interesting in Hawaii is that the habitat and the endangered species in Hawaii are very connected to the Philippine culture as well. Green sea turtles, coral reef habitats. There's a lot of connection there, especially with Hawaii. And I think that's why that was the chosen state to really take on this grant, because we have such relatability to that.
Are you bringing something back to the Philippines? It's a figure of speech, Brittni. Bringing back something to the Philippines, or are you hoping to take something to the Philippines for your as a teacher in Hawaii?
Both, but most importantly, definitely bringing something back from the Philippines to Hawaii. Each one of us teachers are very niched into one certain curriculum. So for me, I'm an elementary school teacher, and I also have a background writing my previous children's book, Puff Safe's Paradise, which was also an environmental education awareness book. And so for me, my personal project that I'm looking to bring back from the Philippines to Hawaii is either a second children's book with my teachers, my fellow applicants, and also a vlog that we will be doing. So what I'm looking to do in the children's book is really talk about sustainability and create that from the Cebuano language culture. So I will have 2 dialects in my children's book. This will be my second book, so I'm very excited about that. And it's fully funded from the U.S. Department of Education as well. So that's really important to me. And the second thing that I'm personally looking to do is to create a vlog that will talk about Dumaguete foods, places in Bohol, Apo Island. We're going to many different places in the Philippines. And I'm looking to bring the culture of the foods, the habitats, the environment, what we will be seeing, religion, culture, and language back home.
Okay, now as far as work post deployment work is concerned, because from what I know, when you get such that kind of scholarship or funding grant, there is always a requirement, the sort of a thesis or a post deployment report. What is required of the participants in terms of coming into the Philippines? What are you supposed to accomplish while you're here, your to-do list, and then your post-deployment report?
Yes. So most importantly, we are bringing a cultural competency curriculum project back. So as I had said, I believe I'm going to stick to 2 different types of this curriculum, which will be a children's book and also a vlog that I can show to my personal classroom.
Yeah,
But what's written about the curriculum that we're bringing is that we're also going to be showing that to other universities and having that as a part of the U.S. Department's education basis, so other teachers around the nation can use that in their classroom. So
yeah, you mentioned that earlier, Brittni, and I am listening, but when I say, do you have an assignment? Because some people might say, oh, they're just coming for a field trip. Oh, it's going to be 6 weeks at the beach, etc. And I've talked to scholars, and grant awardees, and they say, Cito, it is hell, and the people don't know. So just so that people understand what is required of you and expected from you as a participant in this Fulbright Hays program.
Right, that's correct. So I would love everyone to know this isn't a vacation trip. It's specifically a mission, and it's work to do so that we're bringing back curriculum for our students. So each one of us has to do a daily journal of what we've learned, typewritten, bullet pointed, and at the end, we use all of the knowledge that we have learned to create one set curriculum. It could be a children's book, it could be a vlog, it could be a math lesson, a science lesson, but it's really a unit plan. So each applicant and participant is creating a unit plan that can be used for, let's say, one full week of assignments. So let's say students are in an 8-hour day of school. That unit plan will be used for, let's say, half an hour to an hour of that school day's lesson. So each of us are creating a unique and diverse curriculum plan in the Cebuano language culture. So we're actually immersing ourselves in the culture, and we're only allowed to speak Cebuano language once we get into the university. We have 2 hours every day of learning the language here, and we'll be starting that tomorrow, actually. So these next 6 weeks, we're going to be immersed fully in the language, doing our best to speak it. And then at the end of this, each one of us will create a unit plan project. So it will be unique to each of us as a teacher, depending on what our niche is in the classroom.
Okay, there's a slight delay there, but in any case, okay, so there are other members of the team. Are you going to be moving, learning, traveling together, or are you going to be split up and spread out?
Yes, so both. We will be together. We have been mostly together for this project. Each day we've done the same classes, done the Cebuano language lessons together, really helped one another. But we are actually paired with a K-12 teacher starting tomorrow as well, that is from Apo Island. So Apo Elementary School will actually have 10 mentor teachers that will each be paired with us so that we're able to speak with them and learn from their point of view, especially with COVID, since Zoom has been such a big part of the curriculum and learning online. We're going to be speaking with them on how they manage that and handle that as well.
Well, embarrassing as it may be, I will be transparent enough to tell you that I'm surprised to learn there is actually a public school on Apo Island. I thought it was a deserted island except for the Marine contingent and the Coast Guard. But now you're educating us. So how long are you going to be deployed in each place? Because you said you're in Dumaguete. I understand you will be in Bohol and also on Apo Island. How much time will you be spending in every location?
Yes, so we are in Dumaguete for 4 days now. We will be going to Apo Island for 8 days, going to Bohol for about another week, and coming back to Dumaguete. So it's about 5 to 7 days in each location.
Okay, now going back to your home base, Hawaii, and the 23% Filipino student population that you have there, what is the correlation between that population and Bisaya? Because that was the first thing I was wondering about. Why Bisaya when, most people think Filipino or Tagalog is the language?
Right, and that's very true. And we did have many questions about that when we were leaving, because it was also on our local as well. Where I come from, Chaminade University, and where my professor, who originally had applied to this grant, she is from here in Dumaguete, and Chaminade really highlights the minorities. And so the minority group right now is the Visaya culture in the middle of the Philippines, in the islands, and the Cebuano language. And so we really wanted to highlight that minority group because we don't have any teachers, any faculty who really speak the language. And so we're really trying to bring that back for the few students who feel like they don't have a voice and feel like whose heritage isn't being really seen or heard.
Okay, now, do you have anything to share about your other team members? Because I understand you have other teachers from Pearl City High School. You have a professor, or yeah, professor from Miss Leandre Brown from a
Yes,
Chaminade University, and Terius Harsis, fellow for senior
yes.
U.S. Senator Brian Schatz. I mean, it's. I thought it's just all going to be teachers, but apparently you're a mixed group. Why is that?
So we actually all have a background in teaching. There are a couple of applicants who had moved from teaching to being in education legislation, but we all have degrees in
Mm.
education as our main major. So it was very important for our applications and in our interviews to mention that we do have that background in the classroom. Many of us have expanded, and many of my other friends and participants in this program have not only expanded from being a teacher in the classroom, but yes, in education legislation as well, or being an assistant professor or an EL language teacher. And that's why it was very different app that we can all bring something back to Hawaii from this culture in the Philippines that's unique for our students.
Okay, that's quite interesting and informative, because this is the first time I've actually heard of education legislation. And normally in the Philippines, legislation is either pushed by the officials of the department or by the rebel faction of the education community, or the progressive left, as they call them. But
Right.
so there in Hawaii, you actually have educators, teachers who are also engaged in legislative agenda.
We do. It's really important, though, in the United States. My participant, Terius Harris, I would love to mention him as well, is actually from DC, or he's currently teaching, working, which is Washington, D.C., which is the capital of our nation. So he flew to Hawaii to be a part of this program. So a couple of our applicants are not from Hawaii, they're from other states, but they flew to Hawaii for the orientation and applied through Chaminade University, because either they have a connection through the university as a past student, as a postdoctoral student, and that's how they heard about the program. So it doesn't only have to be teachers or professors in Hawaii. It could be all over the nation as well. And then we all flew down, or they flew down to Hawaii so that we can chat, meet each other, have orientation, and then be able to all collectively fly from Hawaii to our destination here in Manila and now in Dumaguete.
Okay, so it's $100,000 fund from the Fulbright Hayes. Aren't they a foundation? Yeah, if a foundation, if I'm not mistaken, and 6 weeks program for 8 teachers, and we do hope it's a successful and memorable and productive trip for all of you. And stay safe. You have no worry about the peace and order, but I will tell you, you better stay safe from the bugs, okay? Because I don't know if you have that in Hawaii, but we have bugs. Oh, you do. Okay. Anyway, any message, Brittni?
I would just like to say salamat po. Thank you so much for having me today, and just being able to talk about the cultural exchange that we're doing from the United States here to the Philippines. It's very important to be immersed in different cultures, especially the students that we're teaching. If they're from here, that's going to be so important to build those relationships with them. So we're very excited about it. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, for joining us, and good luck, safe travels. God bless all of you. Okay. That's Brittni Friedlander, teacher and Miss Philippines Hawaii 2022. She teaches in grade 2 classes, and she is also a book author. Now, we will go for a quick break. When we come back, as I promised, our next guest will be hopefully giving us an education on gyms, the industry, and everything that's going on. We'll be right back after a short break here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH, and even for those of you who are trying to catch us on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for making such an effort, and we do hope that somehow we add to your knowledge, entertain you, but not too much, because our goal is information, not entertainment. Okay, I'll be the entertainment. You can make fun of me. Okay, now for our next guest, he's a graduate of the University of Nebraska. He worked with organizations such as 24-Hour Fitness from 1993 to 2008. He has served as the gym's president of the UFC Gym for the last 12 years before becoming its CEO. And he is presented to, or was presented to me as the guru or the go-to-it-all guy when it comes to gyms, gym operations, and the trend in the industry. Well, let me introduce Adam Sedlack, CEO of UFC Gym. Adam, good day to you.
Cito, good afternoon. I like the word guru. I like that. Thank you for that.
Okay, now just a clarification from you, please. UFC, where does this come from? It sounds very familiar. I mean, in the Philippines, we grew up to UFC, banana ketchup, but there's also UFC that reminds me of like a fight group or something.
Yeah, you hit it. Listen, the UFC is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Yeah, out of Las Vegas. We're the #1 global MMA brand, and very proud of those 3 letters for sure.
Okay, now can I just know if you were once a MMA or Ultimate Fighting fighter?
Only in my mind. Only in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this interview can safely go on because I don't want to mess with you in case I drop a bad joke. But seriously speaking, how are things in the industry? How are things in your line of work or your business?
Yeah, listen, the last couple years has been incredibly difficult, not just in our industry, but in any service segment, right? We had this thing called COVID, and what was really inspirational for myself and our UFC Gym team members was Mr. Dana White, who, when COVID first hit, when you looked at 2020, there was a decision that Dana had to make was, do we just freeze events and freeze everything, or do we keep the show going? And that's exactly what Dana did, is he kept the show going globally, where he was able to continue to have fights, to keep people employed, to keep people entertained. And it was such a great leadership example for our industry, because what do people need? They need fitness. The number one health enemy is procrastination. It's easy to put off as it is. And when you intersect that with this evil pandemic, that fitness was required both physically and mentally.
Okay, just as a background, ladies and gentlemen, Dana White, who was the promoter of the UFC, was condemned. He was bashed, hated on social media because he was being labeled as not caring or being reckless for deciding to stage the Ultimate Fighting Championship tournaments. But he said, what do? We just sit down and let people lose their jobs, etc. So that is a leadership decision that involved personal risk and potential embarrassment. But everything worked out. Now, so what else has been going on?
Yeah, I mean, listen, so as the industry's been coming back, it's really been about making sure that we understand what the opportunity is for people that live in every community, including the Philippines. Is what's the customer need? What are they looking for? And how are we going to take care of them the best? There's one word that I often think about, which is the word isolation, and over the last couple of years, we've been in isolation. We've been looking on our cell phones, 12 hours a day. And I think it's time, as life is starting to normalize to a certain degree, it's time to bring community back, to bring that special connection between fitness and the consumer.
What are the trends right now, or what's the change in the scenery? Because there's something I noticed. People go to the gym here in the Philippines, I suppose, because of the BPO, call center services, etc., or because of work, that people have started to go to gym in the weirdest hours. Like people would say, you want to work out at 1 a.m? I said, do I even want to work out, much less at 1 a.m? Are you insane?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, there's 168 hours in the week, right? And really, you try to get 2 or 3, 4 hours in the gym. And as we continue to evolve through adversity and challenges, I mean, let's face it, obesity. The Philippines is one of the more fit countries globally, right? And I think your obesity rates between 8 and 10%, whereas other portions of the world are much higher. But what you're seeing in the Philippines is an escalation of that. It's continuing to increase. And so that's why the demand for fitness is so high. And so at UFC Gym, we're about to open in SM South Mall, and we're going to have, probably going to open 20 to 30 clubs in a relatively short period of time, because what we want to do is we want to bring the holistic version of why people want to get fit. It's not just what it is, it's why do people want to do it? Stamina, endurance, the mental capacity of oneself, getting them more confident. And so we're trying to create this holistic environment that could include being open 24 hours a day. It could include what you call recovery, which are things like cryotherapy, compression therapy, and different types of modalities within the gym. You see, Cito, you're a fighter. I consider you a fighter. We're all fighters. We just all have something different that we're fighting for, right? For me, I'd like to lose a little bit of weight and gain a little bit of hair. The gym may not be able to help me with the hair, but I think it can help me with the weight. But what we're trying to do at UFC is, no matter what the goal is, what that person's fight is, we want it, whether it's weights, machines, cardiovascular equipment, classes, we want to provide that value proposition to help the customer become the best version of themselves.
Okay, now I was just watching the video and I noticed that some classes had a whole lot of people in the room. And of course, that could never happen during the pandemic lockdowns.
Yep.
But in the Philippines, as you pointed out, there's an increasing percentage in terms of obesity or people getting fat. Let's call a spade a spade. Now, people need to work out. But aside from the challenge of having the motivation to work out, many people I've spoken to have told me that their second challenge is the cost because they say, gym memberships, it's still elitist in nature. And then you have to buy all of this equipment, etc. Will we ever see a point here in the Philippines where numbers will make up for, will bring the profit and not really markups or, percentages in the profit?
Yeah. I think as we continue to evolve out here, you're going to see a lot of incredible businesses in the Philippines, health insurance organizations actually help subsidize memberships to take on some of the costs because healthy employees means happy employees, which means better service. And so we at UFC, we have all sorts of different membership programs based on what a customer is looking for. Sometimes they're not looking for personal training, recovery services, or all these dynamic classes. Sometimes they just want to jump on a treadmill. And so we price the membership that way, but also through great partnerships and through great relationships, through great landlords. We're putting ourselves in positions to be incredibly competitive on the price threshold. And as we start working with different corporations and different organizations, the goal is to be able to speak to the entire audience of the Philippines.
Oh, Adam, it's interesting. I enjoy talking to you about this because, of course, it is cheaper to pay for a gym membership, if you want to call it that, than to pay for a operation or a hospital stay. Now, some people will we ever see this where offices or your facilities would actually be on site in terms of offices? Like, okay, you want your employees to be in great shape. Okay, we'll do it by batches, not individual membership, but you bring the gym to the office facility because it's cheaper for a boss to pay for the gym equipment than to pay for individual operations, surgeries, and treatments in a hospital, or even the cost of a HMO is much higher, I think.
Agreed. You got to be cautious too, right? Because there's something to say about environment, and you want to be in an environment that's zoned for fitness, where somebody can go in there and work out safely and have professionals around them. The last thing you want to do is when you're trying to be preventative on medicine, get yourself hurt while you're exercising, right?
Yes.
So it's so important that you're around professionals. It's so important that you get the right inspiration and education to keep up that motivation. And so we're with our executive team out here in the Philippines and our ownership group, we're absolutely working on looking at the relationship between hospitals and different corporations to really help close the gap so the average person, the blue collar worker, the people that really want to invest into their fitness, both mentally and physically, have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, because I've seen that, there are always this group activity, especially among the women. Okay, Wednesdays are workout night, or Fridays are Zumba day, etc. And, just a thought, maybe, we should, I don't know if that's happening in the US, but here in the Philippines, while people are slowly rebuilding their business locations, etc., that they should already start incorporating gyms and workout spots. And then your experts simply go around all of these clients and conducting the sessions on an hourly basis or a daily basis. Anyway, what is the practice in your gyms, Adam? Because history, in the past, it's always you get a subscription or a membership in a gym and they pamper you for 3 months. And after 3 months, okay, dude, you're on your own. You got to hire one of our trainers as a spot coach and while you're paying the fee. Has that culture evolved? Has there been a change?
Well, Cito, what keeps people working out for a long time is one thing: results. If you don't get results, you're not going to stay with it consistently. So at UFC, we, especially over the last 18 months to 2 years, we heavily invested into figuring out how to socially and emotionally connect with the consumer through technology and through increased awareness and education on how the consumer journey can maximize their results in the least amount of time. The most important life of a member is the first 90 days, because if you don't get that initial feeling of, man, I feel like the best version of myself, or I'm seeing these results, or this was more than I expected, there's a good chance that you're not going to continue on with that membership. So we want to continue to earn the right to serve you through good service, through good technology, and making sure that you have everything you need to maximize your workout results in the least amount of time.
Okay, Adam, we'll just go for a quick break, and when we come back, I'd like to talk more about your business model. How do people sign up, and how do you ensure that they actually get the results you're talking about? Because I know a lot of people, and me included in the past, it's like it's been a month and I haven't lost 10 pounds. So, and I quit, but we'll go to that when we come back right after the break.
You bet.
Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. And with us is the Chief Executive Officer of the UFC Gym, Mr. Adam Sedlack. Adam, welcome back.
Thanks, Cito. Appreciate it.
Okay, just for context, you're in the Philippines right now, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is the purpose of the visit? I mean, you got so much things going on abroad. Why fly out to the island, as they say?
This is an incredibly important market for us. This region for the UFC is become a very fantastic growth market. And as importantly for UFC Gym, we're gearing up for an incredible expansion mode over the next 3 to 4 years. And so we're gonna bring somewhere in the neighborhood, potentially up to 30, 40, 50 locations very quickly.
In the Philippines?
In the Philippines, yeah. So I'm gonna be doing a real estate tour, taking a look at different opportunities, visiting a lot of malls, and visiting a lot of landlords over the next couple of days.
Okay, wow, that is a bold statement of confidence in the country. And I mean, what is at stake here? You're visiting all these potential sites, but who's going to foot the bill?
Well, it's footing the bill. The way the fitness business works, it's often becomes self-funded because as you have members enroll and members participate, there continues to be growth. We also have a franchise model that we're able to sub-license for people that are very passionate about fitness and they want to change their career from working behind a desk to working in gym clothes and helping people get in the best shape of their life. So between the sub-licensee franchise model and the ability to continue to grow through membership acquisition, we're very bullish on the Philippines.
Okay, when you say sub-licensee model, that means that you already have the equivalent of a distributor or a franchisee holder in the Philippines representing you, correct?
That's right. Okay. At an extension of us, we have incredible operators that are out here that are owning the business on our behalf. And so I have come out to visit them and they're excited in regards to their growth trajectory and they've identified multiple locations and we're ready to take the Philippines and run with it in a very aggressive way.
Now, for the sub-licensee, who makes the rules on who qualifies or not? Is it still U.S.? Is it the local franchise owner or is it a combination?
It's U.S. working with the local franchise owner to make sure that number one is that it's the right person that's passionate about fitness. We don't look at this as, when you build an organization and when you build culture in any market, you want to make sure you have like-minded, passionate people that believe in the vision of what fitness is about. And certainly with the modality of what UFC Gym brings to the table, we want to make sure that we're like-minded. And certainly the capital structure is important to make sure that they can deliver the right services for the people that live in the Philippines market.
Okay, I know quite a number of people who suddenly found themselves out of a business, but with lots of money. And I pertain to those people who were on online cockfighting, who had earned millions upon millions, and they're now going, where do we put our money in? But, in all seriousness, there's still a lot of individuals out here who are looking for a business. Not everybody imagines, hey, maybe I should put up a fitness gym. If a person has lots of money first, how much money is involved?
It depends on the footprint. So at UFC, we have 3 different models, right? We have what we call a signature model, which is more like a 2,000 square meter, 20,000 square foot location. And then we have all the way down to a boutique model, which is very popular on the sub-licensee franchise route, which could be, 180 square meters to 200 square meters. And so it just depends on the real estate, where it makes sense. And then obviously the model that the investor or the owner operator is most passionate about.
Okay, so A, it's location. B, it is a choice of the potential sub-licensee. Ballpark figure, capitalization, how many millions is required?
It probably would be unfair for me to answer that because I don't know the local exchange rates out here and so forth. But as a ballpark figure, if it's okay, I'll just say it in U.S. terms. Depending on the relationship with the landlord, it can be anywhere from $30, $40 a square foot to $100 a square foot. It's just based on the scenario, the relationship with the landlord, the lease.
Yeah, but does that cover equipment, Adam?
It can, and there's also ability to finance equipment, right? And so what's great is our partners, Mylene and Mark, they also are distributors of equipment, and so they're able to holistically take care of any location, any outfit, and so they're able to provide all the services that a franchisee will need.
Yeah, forgive me for needling you for information, because it is a good business possibility or potential. Because I mean, you'd be shocked. I asked for what was involved in putting up a donut shop and a pastry shop, and I nearly passed out. I said, "You're just selling bread, for crying out loud! You're not even saving lives, and you're asking me millions for the franchise." So I was hoping to make a relative comparison, because a lot of people now are thinking of getting out of the gasoline business. They got out of the online sabong business. So I said, hey, this is good, because not only will you have a business, you will actually be helping save lives or make lives better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Listen, thank God for the fitness business, because it's the only thing I know how to do. And I love it, because every single day I get to change people's lives through my team. Ideally, when I can interact with people, it's so refreshing. You talked about it earlier, Cito, about do you want to spend time at the doctor, or do you want to spend time with your family and your friends because you're healthy? And we have an obligation. It's not just UFC Gym. I think all of my fitness partners in the fitness industry have this obligation to go out and get more people active than ever before, especially as we get on the other side of COVID, right? Because scientifically that good immune systems really help you deal with any adversity from a medical perspective. So that's what we do. We build immune systems. And from a business financial perspective, it's not overly complicated. It's not overly difficult to build these things out. You have to have, it's got to look good. It's got to feel good. It's got to have some air conditioning. It's got to have some good equipment and some good people. And as long as you're good at selecting real estate, you can hit it out of the park and hit a home run here.
Okay, now as far as potential sub-licensees are concerned, do they have to look like Hercules or whoever? Because I don't know. That's why I stopped going to those commercial gyms. Forgive me for being transparent.
Sure.
Because every time I'd go to a gym, I'd see someone, that just like reminds me I'm a wimp. Okay, so what about people who may have the money, but they're, grossly out of shape, etc.? What is there a requirement for investors to be first you get into shape or something like that? Because, in McDonald's, before you get the franchise, you've got to be at the front line.
Yeah. For me, my job is to help people. And if somebody comes to me and they're out of shape and they have obesity issues and they're a ticking time bomb of, potential mortality, I owe it to them to talk to them and say, listen, let me help you change your life while you're looking at our business model. Yeah, I want them to believe in fitness. I want them to live fitness, because if they don't believe in it and live it, how will it cascade down to the team that's running the gym? How will it cascade down to the members and customers? And it's not about how much muscle you have. It's about how you think, and it's about what your desires and passion are and the way that you want to live your life. And you could be 400 pounds overweight, but if you have a passion to improve yourself and get in better condition and let us help you do that, I want to work with you. But if you're just looking on this as an investment model and you're walking away and you don't really care about fitness, you're going to lose the ability to translate the brand, because you're not going to be authentic, and it's going to lose that organic look and feel.
Okay, so well said, because I actually mentioned that I once in my youth endorsed a particular weight loss boutique, and I said, if you make me lose the 20 pounds, you can put my ugly mug on any billboard in the country and I won't charge you for it. And they did, but they said, you got to work with us. It's not just what we do to you in the clinic. You've got to change your lifestyle. Now, speaking of that, How has it been? Because I've been listening to a lot of doctors, interviewing doctors and leadership gurus and management consultants, and everyone seems to have the same observation. As you pointed out earlier, pandemic, COVID really ruined our healthy lifestyle. It set us back into the Stone Age, meaning, your level, your core fitness, your muscles, etc., is just like really down in the pits. And they've been saying, Cito, it's not as simple as going to the gym. It is going to be a very slow process, and people need to understand this, or there are going to be a lot of people who will be hurt or landing in the ER. In fact, a conditioning coach I know, when I work with, not for me, but on a business thing, he was off for quite some time and went back to the gym because he still had the muscle, etc. And in 2 weeks, he was in the ER. And I said, I told you, don't rush it. Now, are you facing the same challenges with customers?
Yeah, it's a great point, Cito. Listen, it's not just the physical side either, it's the mental side, right? When you look at the Philippines, I think somewhere around 4 million people are dealing with mental issues, and a lot of that's been driven through COVID. And when you re-enter the exercise space, the last thing you want to do is push yourself at 130% exertion level, right? You got to start off moderately. I don't care where you're working out, what kind of activity you're doing. It's about baby steps. You aren't able to build Rome in a day, right? It's building a foundation. And after you have, and the foundation means that, do you have good core stabilization? Do you have a decent level of cardiovascular activity? Do you have some level of dexterity or flexibility? And then from that foundation, you can start developing and building. And if you do that in a moderate way, and you have a good platform or format that keeps you inspired mentally, you're eating decent. And I might remind you that it's also very important that we sleep. If we can do all of those variables, it puts a person's ability to find their personal best version of themselves at a very, very high probability rate.
Okay, and allow me to just inject here my agenda, because I recently went full vegetarian. I was actually headed vegan, but my wife said, let's just stick with plant-based. And it has really helped with my recovery phase, because now I'm back in the gym, but it's slow, really slow, because my functional rehab coach said, you ruined yourself in the last 2 years. We are going to do this step by step, because if not, I may be attending your funeral.
Yeah. We don't want that, right? And that's why it is important that you try to work in a professional environment, or condition yourself in a professional environment, because we want to be as proactive as we can as it relates to you as an individual. You see, everybody's built differently, right? Mm-hmm. Some people are in the best shape you could possibly imagine, and our job is to get them in better shape and continue to improve them. Some of them are in the worst shape you can imagine, and we better hold their hand and take it one step at a time to make sure not only do they start achieving some results, but that we're there to help them mentally through the process to getting them to the other side.
Okay, well, Adam, just a quick question, ask for a quick answer, because everyone in the Philippines just kind of dismisses old people above 60. Oh, you're old, you have to be careful, you're fragile, blah, blah. And I said, God, those guys can still compete in a marathon if they actually put their mind and their body through the proper training. What do you guys do at UFC? Because, it's the people who are 60 and above who've saved enough money and can afford your facilities and need your expertise.
Yeah, well, 60 is the new 30 anyway. So it's not, because I'm not far away, Cito. So we're together on that one. And yeah, listen, it's important that we're able to connect with everybody. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or 80. we need to have a lane that you feel comfortable in, that you're excited to be part of. Because if we don't give you that lane, you're not going to stick with it. And so we certainly have that at UFC Gym. And a lot of what I find the more mature individuals to want are a lot of programs around stretching and cardiovascular activity and those types of formats. And we definitely have that program.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, Adam. Thank you very much for your time. And please keep in touch, even if you're abroad, because I think the time zones will still work out if you've got something new to share with us. Thank you very much.
Cito, thank you.
Okay, that's Adam Sedlack, Chief Executive Officer, UFC Gym. And like I said, look, please, however, wherever, whenever you start, just start. Now, for our closing blessing for the week, it's a Friday. It's from Romans chapter 15, verse 13. May the God of hope fill you with all the joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, you may abound in hope. Thank you for joining us here on Agenda. We hope to see you next week, God willing. And please keep it here on One News PH.